thing about the mid game in OSRS, a lot of people hit the same brick wall. Maybe you've got the fire cape, you've done recipe for disaster, you've got a whip or a fang. And then at some point you look at your bank and go, oh okay, so I've actually made some money now. Slayer pays some, maybe it's skilling. The bosses are really where the money comes in. The problem is there's about 40 mid-game bosses in the game at this point, and I'd say at least half of them are definitely worth doing. Some are entry level ones and some of them are a bit harder. Starting off with an entry level one, Sarachnis. Sarachnis, as well as something like Scurrius or Barrows, might be some people's first boss. It's one of those bosses that will teach you some PvM mechanics like Scurrius. She lives in a dungeon under Hueycoatl. There's no hard quest to enter the dungeon. Just head into the dungeon and make your way to the boss. You can access it via the Xeric's talisman. That's the easiest route. Bring a fang or a whip, blood barrage if you can, prayer swaps for all 3 attack styles, and the fight, like a lot of PvM in RuneScape, is just about rhythm. Melee, mage, dodge the spawning spiderlings, and you can learn it in a few kills. The drop table is loaded with alchables, as well as seeds and herbs. So even the quote-unquote bad loot is somewhat profitable for a early mid-game player. And if you're lucky, you can hit the Sarachnis cudgel, or any of the collection log items. This is a perfect mid-tier boss, especially for someone wondering if they can actually boss in general. This will give them a taste of what's to come. Next is Barrows. Pretty much everyone starts here nowadays, which is crazy because when I was a kid this was like an endgame boss. There's 6 brothers and 6 tombs, and 1 chest at the end. Priest in Peril is required to reach Mauritania. Beyond that, there's no real skill gates. You can start Barrows at an account that's pretty much just left the early game, but I'd say get 43 prayers so you have all the protection prayers. Since the elemental weakness update, the Barrows are weak to air spells, which massively changes the budget equipment that you can use. You no longer need a really good staff, an air staff and death runes for wind blast. Just pray the correct style for each of them. And you're basically not taking any damage, you're just going to get your prayer drained a lot. The reason why Barrows is decent to farm is because of the money conversion. The uniques are still actually worth some decent money, and the Mauritania Hard Diary bumps your rune drops by 25%, which pushes the GP up per hour by quite a lot. Also worth mentioning, you can use a strange lockpick to bypass the doors in the dungeon. You either get it from Hallowed Sepulchre or from the GE. It's a small quality of life thing and it costs money, so it's up to you. But overall, Barrows isn't the fastest GP, but it's definitely good to do early on. It's nostalgic, brings some decent GP, and is really not that hard. Something that will test your mechanics a little bit is Scurrius, aka the Rat King. I would say this is sincerely a great starter boss for a mid-game account, mainly because the barrier of entry is almost nothing, but then it also teaches you so many good mechanics that you're going to need later on. Constantly moving, avoiding projectiles, avoiding things on the floor, protecting from the relevant style, and dealing with things that spawn in. It's located in the Barrows sewers. Solo works, but the boss scales massively in a mass world. Jagex specifically buffed the group experience multiplier, so more people equals better XP per hour. If you get the Scurrius spine drop, you can make this fight way easier. This allows you to craft a Ratbane weapon, one for all 3 styles. These aren't just cosmetic, it lets you one-shot the rats that Scurrius spawns with a 1-tick delay. This speeds up your kills massively. The loot is decent, but nothing great. Adamant, rune drops, some alchables, some stackable resources, and the occasional medium clue. What Scurrius actually gives you is good combat XP, the Ratbane weapons, but most importantly, it's going to teach you some PvM fundamentals, and that's going to make you more money than anything else. The Kalphite Queen feels like the grandmother of mid-game bosses. She's been in the game since I was using crayons, and she's just one of those bosses that are super annoying. She constantly hits you and there's nothing you can do about it. She's located in the Kalphite layer south of the Shanty Pass. You need a rope to enter the layer. The walk to get to her can be somewhat annoying, but this gets a lot easier after you've done the Elite Desert Diary. It's recommended to have 90 plus in your combat stats to fight the Kalphite Queen, with some decent gear because she has 2 forms, physical then flying. The reason she's on this list is that she drops the Dragon Chain Body, and the Kalphite Queen head, which you'll eventually need for the Desert Elite Diary, and you can later mount it in your POH. She also drops a bunch of alchables. Nowadays most players just stick with strong melee weapons like the Fang or Zombie Axe, and swapping gear only if they need to use more advanced setups, otherwise the fight can be very slow. Kraken is the AFK boss. It's not really a fight, it's more just a slayer task that will occasionally drop you the Trident of the Seas. You need a pretty high level of 87 Slayer. The cave is in north of Piscarilius. Every kill has the chance of dropping the Trident of the Seas. The fight is pretty much just click the whirlpool, then Kraken herself pops up, you kill her and then continue the cycle. It's not the biggest moneymaker on this list, but it's definitely relaxed. If you're grinding to 99 Slayer anyway, then you might as well do some Kraken. Perilous Moons is a newer addition to OSRS bosses, and the design is honestly very good. You need to have completed the Perilous Moons quest. There's 3 separate moons, Eclipse, Blue and Blood, and you fight them one at a time in the prison. Between fights you restock in the same room, you bring your gear in and you don't leave until you're done. This alone makes it very forgiving more than a lot of bosses. You can get the Eclipse, Blue and Blood Moon sets here, which only need 50 defense to wear, and these are very good armor pieces. This can be a bit annoying to do as you will take a lot of damage if you're not tanky, as you can't use prayers here. If you're starting your mid-game boss in progression, this boss could be one of the first bosses you try. It teaches you raw mechanics, and it pays you in gear that you can either sell or actually use, and it's definitely forgiving if you're working on your PvM skills. Well done for this person on screen for winning the last Bond giveaway. If you want a chance to enter the next Bond giveaway, make sure to sub to the channel, like this video and comment down below your favourite mid-game boss. One of my favourite mid-game bosses is the Royal Titans. Located in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, you need to fight them simultaneously. They swap between elements. You melee them when they're close, swap between range or magic when they back up, and try to be aware of your surroundings. It will definitely be one of your first introductions to a duo fight, and it's good at teaching gear switching. Here you can get the prayer scrolls Mystic, Vigor and Deadeye, and they also drop crown pieces that build the Twin Flame Staff. The nice thing about the boss is that it can be done solo or duo, and you don't get punished for bringing a friend, because the loot isn't shared. If you know someone else that's around the same level, this is probably the best boss you can do together. Hueycoatl is another boss that you can do with a friend, a group, or by yourself. To do it, you do need to complete Children of the Sun, which is basically a starter quest for Varlamore anyway. It's a multi-phase fight where you attack whichever segment of the body is exposed. You dodge the tail slams, help charge the pillars, pray against the right style for the fallen rocks, and I would say the mechanics are readable and forgiving, which makes it great for learning with a friend. The big drops here is the Dragon Hunter wand, as well as the Tome of Earth and the Hueycoatl hide for the hide range set. It's weak to Dragonbane, so Dragon Hunter gear absolutely carries here. Try it with a few other players first to get comfortable and then give it a go solo. A true rite of passage is the Dagannoth Kings. The 3 kings, Rex, Prime and Supreme. They all share a single cavern on Waterbirth Island. Each use different combat styles, so it's definitely another good introduction to PvM. You can access the tavern from the boat in Relica, you take it to Waterbirth Island and then navigate through the dungeon. Most mid-game players start by soloing Rex in the safe spot, which I'd say is definitely the right call if you haven't done it before. Rex is weak to magic, so you sit there on the safe tile, melt him away with a trident or a powered staff, and you pretty much never take damage unless you mess up. The rings are why you're here: Berserker, Warrior, Archers, and Seer's Ring. Once you've got a bit of experience, you can start doing all 3, but solo Rex is where 80% of mid-game players start. The next 2 is a debate on which one's better. I guess it really depends, because some people would say Vorkath makes more money, but a lot of people, including myself, have just gotten way more lucky at Zulrah. I've gotten about 4 or 5 expensive uniques, where at Vorkath I've just had 1. But granted, at Vorkath the loot per kill is better. But Zulrah is the boss that filters people. The fight cycles between 4 rotations and 3 forms. Green is ranged, blue is magic, and red is melee. Your entire job is knowing which prayer to flick, which style to attack with, and most importantly, where to stand for the next phase. Zulrah is the boss that separates real PvMers from people who quit the game at Jad. The thing is though, this is a knowledge gate, not really a stat gate. You can attempt Zulrah at 75 combat with a rune crossbow and cheap magic gear. The barrier is really about learning the rotations. Once you've done 50, 100 kills, the rotations start to become way more easier to remember. And the drops are really good. The Tanzanite Fang and Magic Fam are great. And if you're lucky, the Zulrah mutagens, and occasionally an uncut Onyx. Zulrah definitely requires more focus than Vorkath, but because it's more engaging, I would say it's more fun. A lot of main accounts do both, as they're both just really good money, but it really depends on your playstyle and which one you want to grind more. But Vorkath really is the boss that funds so many players' account in the mid-game. Mid-game or end-game, I don't know where you really class Vorkath. I don't really know, so many people have different opinions on that. But to do Vorkath, it does require Dragon Slayer 2, which unlocks repeatable Vorkath kills immediately. The fight is pretty standard once you learn the mechanics. Prayer flicking, dodging the poison pools in the acid phase, and ideally learning the Wook's Walk, and kill the spawn with Crumble Undead. Once the pattern becomes muscle memory, you can basically autopilot the boss. The standard loot definitely does carry. Superior Dragon Bones on every drop is amazing. Then if you're lucky, you can hit a Visage, either skeletal or draconic, and then something that's not worth anything but a very nice pet to get is Vorkath. Do Vorkath for a couple hundred kills after Dragon Slayer 2, and you'll be very grateful for how much it funded your account. Callisto is a boss in the wilderness, and this one, unlike RTO, is in the multi-zone. It means PKers can actually kill you here with a team, so it's way more risky but pays way higher. You can access it via a burning amulet and teleport to the Chaos Temple, or the Vetion teleport if you've got that unlocked. Bring cheap gear that you don't mind losing because you will get attacked, and I'm being serious, you will get attacked. But the fight is pretty straightforward. Protect from melee, keep away from the shockwave, freeze him so he doesn't run at you, and just repeat the cycle. The important drop is the Voidwaker Hill, as well as the Tyrannical Ring, and plenty of valuable alchables. Like I mentioned before, the single combat version is RTO. The loot rates are a lot worse, but you're gonna die a lot less because it's not a multi. You can either anti-PK, run away and log out, or just find a way to not die, but it's definitely way safer, but like I said, worse loot. In a similar vein, Venenatis is the spider in Deep Wilderness. The fight uses a mix of styles. She hits ranged for 10 attacks I think it is, and then switches to magic, and melee if you're right next to her. So unless you're close at all times, you're going to need to be swapping protection prayers, and she also has a web mechanic that you do not want to stand in. The drops is the Voidwaker gem, one of the 3 components for the Voidwaker, as well as the ring and plenty of other valuable standard loot. I'd say Venenatis is probably the best one to farm out of the 3 because the gem has been more expensive than the other 2 for a while. And rounding out the wilderness trio, it's Vetion the Skeleton King. He's located, you guessed it, in the Deep Wilderness. He summons hellhounds and skeletons during the fight. The fight has 2 phases. You kill Vetion and then he rises again. Protect from magic is your default, dodge his AoE attacks and keep tagging the hellhounds. He drops the 3rd piece of the Voidwaker, the Voidwaker Blade. It's the same rules as the other ones, bring cheap gear and run if you see a PKer. Phantom Muspah is one of those bosses that some people like and some people hate. This boss I would say is near the end of the mid game. It requires Secrets of the North, which is a big quest, and it's located beneath West. The fight can be clean. 3 phases, ranged, magic and melee, and each phase teaches you something. Prayer swaps, movement dodging and adapting on the fly. Muspah is the boss where a lot of players go from I can barely kill Vorkath to I'm actually decent at bossing now. The big drop is the Venator Shard. You need 5 of these to build the Venator Bow, and it also drops an Ancient Icon, which upgrades the Ancient Scepter into one of the stronger variants. Realistically, this is a boss that you camp when your account is past base 80s, because Muspah is where mid-game accounts start earning proper endgame money. If you get consistent Muspah kills, I would say you've basically left the mid-game. The cool thing about the mid-game is where you get introduced to most of the bosses. The accounts that actually stack up big banks aren't always the ones that are grinding the highest GP per hour like Doom or Yama, or even raids. They're the ones that found 1 or 2 bosses that they really enjoy doing and can farm for days, weeks and months on end. They slowly upgrade their gear, they have the patience, and they're just committed to the bosses they enjoy. So pick one that fits your account and the way you like to play. You don't need to spread across every boss in the game. The main thing alongside progressing, making money and all of that stuff is having fun, whatever that means for you. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to enter the Bond giveaway. There's a link in the description if you want to join the Discord community. If you enjoy OSRS content in general, then one of these videos on screen might interest you. I hope you're having a good day, and until the next one, peace.